the board and so on, particularly those dwelling on areas that I think have tended to give rise to a lot of conflict and so on, labor-industrial relations, peer mediation, and of course, commercial mediation in general. And then, towards the end, the question of being able to ensure that trainers can truly deliver what they said they're going to deliver, as I've mentioned, that you may want to ensure that there is going to be ongoing teaching and training of the trainers themselves and so on, whether that should be built into the Act. Okay? So, on the question of training material, we know that candidates do tend to get some material from their trainers, but the fact is that, you know, you've got to encourage those seeking certification and even the trainers themselves to continue to read widely, to acquaint themselves with the most recent practices that are taking place, as indeed with any other field. I mean, we think of the need for continuing professional development in the legal profession, in the medical profession, virtually any area that is a very dynamic field. And I think mediation is certainly, I would say, one of the most dynamic fields around. So maybe this is something that needs to be given some thought. The availability of material through trainers, or at least being pointed in the right direction as to where you can access this. It's not just a question of going on to Amazon or some other website and finding a book or something. I mean, that is obviously going to be useful, but, you know, there's really important stuff out there. And then looking at things from a comparative point of view, you know, and seeing what other jurisdictions are doing as well, and the extent to which that should be crafted to what we're trying to do here as well, too. Right? I've mentioned also the question of diversity, conflict resolution theory. Role of attorneys is also important, whether or not attorneys become mediators also, but, you know, appreciating that when they do attend the mediation, their role, of course, is a little bit different. But expanding the need for mediation training, this may not be one of the more popular suggestions, whether we might go from 40 to 50 hours, but again, something to think about, because it could give trainers a little bit more flexibility instead of trying to crowd everything within a relatively short period of time and so on. Although, as I said, there's a possibility of doing other courses as well, too. So as I wrap up, one of the things that we want to think about, too, is the extent to which the practicum is sometimes utilized by some applicants to count towards the number of mediation hours under the Act. Practicum is really meant to be exactly that, a practice session, but, you know, can it truly be used to apply for certification as a mediator, as a trainer, and so on? Well, I would suggest that that may not be necessarily the right interpretation or approach to take and so on, that in fact you should be doing some actual mediations before certification, but at present there is a level of flexibility there and so on, and of course we do want to encourage others as much as possible to seek that certification and so on. Okay, so I've mentioned one or two areas where the Act might need to be looked at, to be tightened up, as we try to maintain those standards, maintain levels of certification that are really going to be appropriate, and of course the proper evaluation and monitoring of the trainers who are the really the seedbed for the growth of mediation in the future. In terms of the board itself, well, I think that some of the things being kicked around, being discussed, would be the enhanced role of the board, whether we see it as possibly expanding into ADR in general as opposed to just mediation, and which of course, because we see also the growing use of commercial arbitration, and the extent to which it might become divested from the judiciary and so on. At present, there are certain advantages because, of course, it's currently housed, you know, in premises that are under the control of the judiciary. But it may be that as the board is going to continue to grow and possibly its functions expand, some consideration has to be given to the growing regulatory role that, you know, hopefully it's going to play as well too. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I don't know to what extent there may be some scope for questions, but I'll leave it to Beverly if she wants to do that. Thank you very much.